You're about to embark on an audio journey that does not fit the cushy box of the algorithm. There is no perfect title, no neat boxes of pristine content, and definitely no script. Listen as two nonconformists come together over a cup of cacao and touch on so many topics like circle facilitation, vulnerability, tiptoeing, being trauma-informed, self-responsibility, truths or values, conditioning, and so much more. This talk explores some of our more pressing issues we see in practice as professionals, space holders, guides, and medicine workers. Simone joins me as a psychospiritual guide with 10 years experience in the coaching space, who blends her intuition and shamanic journeying with her knowledge of the internal family systems. And her work sits at the intersection of psychological integration with grounded spirituality, supporting people in navigating their emotional world with both depth and stability. I really appreciate Simone for joining me, and I hope that you enjoy this journey.
Boom. Maybe that's exactly what I say. You ask me for a teaser or a tool to show people some of my work, but that's the thing. If I just give them one little piece, like doing a meditation, it's like it positions me in the wrong place. Like it positions me just in this one box, when in reality there's all these different tools that I put together. It's like, can I guide you through a meditation? Absolutely. Does it show who I am?
Yeah.
No, not at all, because that's just one little piece. The conversations, that is a teaser of my work. It doesn't tell you the exact ABC of what I do, or some of the things that I include, like some practices that I may use.
You can't ABC what we do.
No, when I do events or so, I can only give people teasers, even at events, even at 4-hour events. People only get teasers of the work I do, because it's like, well, we do these processes.
Yeah.
But think about, if we work on a bigger spectrum, there's so many more processes that come together. Plus, then it's not just the processes, then it's actually the places I pull the information from, whether that's lived experience, whether that's spirit that's coming through, whether that's professional or trained knowledge, right? Then it's all coming in, and that's my lived experience, years of combination of lived experience, current experience, professional training, that comes all together. So
and just current stories, right? Sometimes when you're doing an event, you're kind of in your head thinking, oh, it's going to go this way, but then something happens that day and you're like, no, I need to talk about that.
Yeah.
And then it just works out that it's relevant to everyone. And but that's the spirit led too, right? You don't know that that's going to go that way.
Well,
cheers. We're going to clink our cacao because we're having cacao conversations.
Cheers. Yeah. And which is beautiful, right? It's that's what cacao is for.
Oh, this is really good.
These conversations. And that's another thing, is with any facilitation that you do on a shorter spectrum, it's again, people experience processes at times where people don't connect to processes. They do, they're obviously of course they're oh, I like this concept, I like IFS, I like shamanic journeying, I like ceremony, I like earth-based teachings, whatever, right? They're oh, I like that sounds interesting. But what they're really getting out is what you really want them to connect with in the end is you as a person, your field, and what you stand for. And I think that's the beautiful thing, the conversation that people can listen to that we had, really, we went into all different kind of topics, but that's exactly that's where you experience us and what we want to bring in and what we want to transmit. You're getting actually an insight by listening to our episode. You're actually getting much more of an insight, and see if you resonate with either of us, the things that we talk about and our viewpoints we have. And if you resonate with that, then you can decide if our work could be interesting to you, right?
Yeah, that's the medicine piece. I think that's why we connected as soon as I met you. She's down here with me, not in a dark space way, but in a like nervous system settled, and so that like allows us to have way more space in our conversations and to be able to share, like just like right now, sharing about how a talk or a workshop or a ceremony is like a different layered package of your gifts, but in sample form.
Yes.
And then that gives people the opportunity to feel you, just a taster. So thank you for being so you.
Thank you for being you, because that's the exact same experience that I had with you, where like it's the same reflection when we met, where I'm like, oh, there is somebody that knows exactly what I'm talking about, has experienced things I'm talking about that are hard to conceptualize for other people. Mm-hmm. But again, you are you're in the integrated space where you grounded it in, it's integrated, it's regulated. I'm excited for anybody who listens to our episode, and I hope they don't get too confused as we like ping pong around sometimes.
That's the journey, man.
Then we're just sitting again in a circle where we're just speaking.
But speaking to the void.
Yes, it is speaking to the void, because everybody's like, okay, we're all just going to listen and hold space for each other, and we don't judge. And that's all fine. I think everybody can sit there and just listen and, in fact, not judge. Mm-hmm. But we're still speaking to the void, because it's not transmuted that way if everybody's just sitting there and waiting until everybody spoke, because that's how it often feels to me in circle. It's just everybody's just waiting piece, where people are just like, oh, what am I going to say? So they're not holding there. Yeah. And of course, still it allows everybody to speak, and it allows everybody to bring in their voice. But I'm not sure that it always serves what it's supposed to serve. It's just everybody just says something, but it's like you just put it in the middle, and maybe sometimes that's it, but there's no reflective, it's not a reflective conversation. It's just like everybody said what they had to say. And maybe sometimes it's something that needed off your chest, and maybe sometimes that's the case. Or maybe it's your intention, and it helps when you speak your intention, out loud. It adds energy to that. But sometimes I'm like, okay, put this here, and now what's happening with it? Versus, the discussion of a topic, or where we all like have our opinion. And sometimes we can all have different opinions, obviously. And I know there's also this concept of a circle of holding space, and everybody is allowed to voice their opinion, and everybody's just going to accept that. But then we're all walking just out of there. It's not like we're in a community where this keeps being a living thing.
That's true.
If you were in an actual community where there's other interaction, like actually living community, and then everybody put their opinion out, and now everybody goes to their life and keeps mulling that over and sitting with that. Like in events, it's more like, okay, we put it all there, and then we leave, and we actually don't even know each other, and we'll not have the interactions. We're not going to necessarily think about it. Maybe every now and then you hear something, that you're like, oh yeah, that was interesting, or that. But in general, it is.
Yeah, it's making me think of this conversation that I had with one of the elders I interviewed for my book, where she was like, how everything is just so surface level now, because there's just nothing is as in depth as it used to be. And when she put that conversation in ceremony, she was like, they used to have like 3, 7, 14-day ceremonies. Even the like bare bones basic, put a few hours into your spiritual healing. Like if that's too much, it's like, that's still barely the surface of what this work can be for you. And like you said, like once people just like go to their own homes, like how do you, doing circles is like, we're trying to do this old ways, but like the communities are not the same. Mm-hmm. So how do you bridge that?
Well, and then also, right, it's like going back to kind of like where we started with this, it's like, there's obviously a lot of people that come to events, that come to circles, that are doing their own work at home, that are doing their growth. But then there's also people that just come
entry point, but sometimes that's all they do. They come, they sit in circle to bring out the same thing that they keep bringing out, and they put it in the middle, and they sit in their own circle, and nothing's actually being done, nothing's being worked with. Then the self-responsibility isn't there because, well, I can just come to a circle.
Right. I'll do my spiritual healing again in a month. Yeah.
Right. Or you're held and you're being witnessed. But where is your self-responsibility to do the work and sit with it and learn to hold it yourself? So after you go home, and that's where I'm trying to figure out how do I want to conduct my work? Because my work, I'm not the person that's just going to sit there and let you sit in your circle and you can keep bringing it back and putting it out there and nothing happens. Like nothing happens for you. I'm not that person that you come to just so you have, like, you know, as a form of using this as your self-soothing in that moment.
That's strong. That's strong medicine, right? But people would be like, well, that's not trauma informed. Okay, but that's also reality. Like, that's just real. You're going to have to do your work if you don't want to keep suffering and spiraling.
There's a time and place where we need to be held, and we're in vulnerable states where all we need is to be held.
Yeah.
There's a time, and it needs to be heard, and it needs to be witnessed. And then there comes a place where, like, now you have to learn this for yourself. So you're not stuck in your own loops. And, you know, when we talk about the concept of circle, I mean, in the end, everybody, again, is responsible for themselves and how they utilize the spaces, I guess, that are made available, you know, and there's many spaces available these days that you can go to. I just know that my work, I don't want to stay in that. I don't want to stay just in the place. Like, I want you to not need me.
Exactly.
I want you to not have to come back to me.
Yep.
I want you to feel like I don't need a circle to be held. I'm good because I'm stable within myself. But sometimes I go because I enjoy the community, like actually seeing people. Or sometimes I go because maybe I can hold something for somebody. Again, intention builds energy, whatever. But even like we're at an event, we're putting it in the middle. And maybe we reflect at the end of what shifted or what's else. But the people there are not necessarily able to hold the space. And of course, it's the facilitator's job. But it's just the whole concept of the circle is kind of like this illusion. It's like this, not how it's supposed to be.
Well, we're taking an old thing and trying to implant it in modern times, and it doesn't fit.
It doesn't.
So it's like, how do we do our best to have it fit better?
Yeah.
Because we're not little tribes anymore.
No.
Like, back to the conversation about the quickness. Can we get together once a month for 2 hours and that be all of our spiritual time? Like, that's not real. And then we all just go to our cars and drive out to our separate boxes and no one talks, right? Like, there's no continuation of the work is the word, I guess. I like your integrity of it. It's like, we have, like, how do we do this better instead of just the surface floating around?
Yeah.
Dump and go. How do we do it better?
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. How do we not keep people actually in a place where they feel they constantly need somebody else to hold space for them to, and again, we all are human. We need people, we need help, we need to share, we need other people to hold, but we also need to learn to share from grounded places, like within us. Like, you know, vulnerability doesn't mean venting to somebody and just pushing your energy out and pushing your energy at them in the hopes that they'll hold it for you because you can't and it's too uncomfortable. Again, there's a time and space for that. Real vulnerable sharing means you know where you're sharing from. You're coming from a grounded place. You're open for reflection. You're in a place where you're you also consider the capacity of the other person that you're sharing with. And of course, if you're a facilitator, if you're a professional, this may be your job to hold that space. So of course, in that moment, you have capacity, but also like in private life, just in general. And it's like, how do we create this work where people don't need to always feel like they need somebody else to hold it for them.
Mm-hmm. I remember being there though.
Oh, of course.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
and before do all that work, there's a lot of victim and just like that constant, like maybe this person will fix me, maybe that will fix me. And just like constant trying all these different things. It's a very uncomfortable way to live.
But you don't know that you're doing it.
You don't understand.
It's just an outsourcing of your energy. That's where, as facilitators, if we actually want to help people, there's a responsibility that we're not taking it on, right? That's our own, keeping our own space clean. But there's also our responsibility where there's a place, again, where where we stop tiptoeing, where we help people get to a place where it's like, okay, we held this, we witnessed it, we saw it, like, now it's your time to develop that capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And now, we're not trauma informed anymore because we're not tiptoeing anymore, but we have to get to that place. And there is a fine line to also recognizing where people are, but I think there is a lot of that tiptoeing everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, it's also because everybody's tiptoeing, it's like we're also expecting everybody like to either not trigger us, to always say the right thing. Like we're actually expecting other people to do the work, like to show up as a therapist would.
Mm-hmm. It's not real.
No. To expect our friends to do that. We're starting that everybody uses conscious language and trauma-informed language, totally forgetting that everybody's human being and having like their own shit going on. We're expecting when it's kind of like this, we're expecting when we don't have capacity to hold our own shit, we expect the other person to have capacity and always respond in the right language, with the right tone, considering our feeling. And yes, if somebody has the capacity to do that, but it's almost like self-abandonment, like we talked about this other time. It's like this tiptoeing does, and you had brought that up too, it does create self-abandonment because we're like, oh, can I say it like this? And we can be kind to people but still have boundaries. But it's almost like people expect you to not have boundaries anymore. To, again, if it's this very interesting dynamic where we expect everybody around us to have capacity for own shit because we don't have capacity.
Yeah, exactly. Like, where's the responsibility? Look at yourself.
It's a very interesting dynamic, and it's a very kind of like, even as facilitators, I find it a very like fine line like to walk on.
Well, you have a lot of experience in your role away from ceremony, where you're working one-to-one with people, probably understand it differently when it comes to like kind of your scope of how to deal with that.
Well, I'm not a therapist, so I keep my right, I guess, or like to actually not have to be a therapist, to working as a coach, to having more freedom in that sense of what I can bring to people. And it always depends also where people are at.
Absolutely.
Too, right? It's like, again, sometimes people just need, like, space just needs to be held, and they need to be validated, and they need to learn to see they need to learn to see that what they feel, if they experience it from the perspective of the past or the trauma, it makes sense that they would experience it like that, and that they would think like that and respond like that. It makes sense. And then at some point we have to be like, but what is happening now?
Yes.
In my own work, like it really depends what processes I go through, right? It's like everybody's at such a different place. I don't know. What's your experience with that? Because you do a lot of private work with people.
I think I was just thinking about the tiptoeing conversation because, like, for my entire career, I've known a ton of therapists. I've had many therapists. Like, Sorry, peeps, there are just some things that cannot be shared and not be aired.
Okay. Thank you.
Here we are.
But yeah, it's like, so once you kind of get it like that, it's like this helped me in some ways, but in other ways it also held me back because there were things that needed to be said to me that they weren't allowed to say.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go in other spaces, and like I just think of my teacher. George is a Cree man, and he just says the things, and he's like, I don't mean to hurt you, but this, I'm sorry, needs to be said. Thank you, right? But like, I'm okay hearing those things from him. I understand what he's seeing needs to be said, and that I need to hear it, and I'm good. And I also understand that when you cry and you have a hurt, but a healing from it, that it can only move you forward. So I would never fault him for saying something that upset me a bit because I understand why he's saying it. Not everyone has that ability to see what's being said, but not blame the other person. Different kind of therapy, but not a therapist.
And the thing is, sometimes it takes you a couple of years and then you're like, oh, now I get it. Now I can see my behavior. I know exactly what I did.
Yeah.
I know, when this person said this and I was pointing the finger at them.
Yeah.
Right? Because I wasn't able to sit with myself or hope or even see that I have unrealistic expectations of people or whatever. And then you're like, oh yeah, I totally did that to that person.
Let things go and learn the practices themselves and then be able to take care of themselves. And it's like, I'm always here for you in crisis, but also we want people to take responsibility and learn how to care for themselves spiritually. But I think that's the difference too between what we do in like a medicine realm versus say something like Reiki, where it's more relaxing. Some people might use it like a little bit in the escapism realm where it's just like, oh, I just feel good for the hour. And then, but 20 minutes later, when you walk out, it's all still there. But with medicine work, it's deeper. It's working on a deeper level, right? Yes, we want people to come and commit to doing the work. It's not like escape time for an hour. It's doing deep work. Yeah.
It's like, when you keep going back just for the moment, like it's just a coping mechanism. Be like
a Band-Aid.
a Band-Aid. It's just I need to have a little bit more capacity, a little more space. And again, there is a time and place for that.
Absolutely.
Where you're like, okay, this Reiki treatment is really going to help me because it's going to create a little bit of capacity. It's going to move some energy. But are you going to be able to now work with that capacity that was created for you in your field? Are you going to be able to do something with that extra capacity? Or are you just going to let it fill back up with density because you can't create stability in your own field?
Yeah. Use the space that it gave you.
Exactly. You have to use the space, but you need to know how.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm always here for you in crisis. And because that's another thing, people need space to do the work themselves. Like some people want to keep talking about it. Caught myself in that with myself in that, even with my therapist. And I'm like, I need to talk about this. But it's the same thing of pushing energy out again. Because why do we keep talking about it? Right. And of course, as a coach, I can bring in the right questions and the right prompters that hopefully then will get you to be like, oh yeah, this is what I need to do. But if I'm just like, I'm in crisis, I need you to talk to me. It's like, you need to learn to actually sit also in crisis with yourself at times and be able to get it to a level where you can hear yourself again. That's what you need. Because if you every time in crisis you need somebody else, you're just pushing it out again. And basically you're throwing it into the void again instead of using what comes up for the work.
Mm-hmm.
And that requires space and time in between sometimes of like doing the work, right? There's a difference between let's do like deep trauma work. Let's go into the shadows together and I hold you there and I'll guide you through and you don't have to do it alone. And we'll go there together where you need to be witnessed. And then I witnessed you in being able to hold that because I didn't hold it for you. You held it for yourself. You can tolerate this with me. So now let's build the capacity so you can hold it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you're no longer outsourcing. You're holding your own field. You're stable in yourself. You hold your own states and you reach out for help when needed from a true vulnerable place.
Well, that's why I said that, because people need people in the community, because there has always been the medicine person who, yes, I'm here for you. I didn't mean it from like a place of like, please keep coming back for your crises.
Right.
Like we have the you and I have the responsibility of being that person for our community. And I know when you've been at that level of darkness, people who are there, they'll find you because you understand it.
Because then that's the point, right? That's what I enjoy about our conversations is it's this grounded spirituality. There is also this like we need to return more to the old ways in certain ways. But take that and bring it into the now and how it fits now.
We're both still trying to figure that out.
And I think there is.
That's it. Like that's where your power is. Grab it.
Everybody needs to be willing
Just
or
grab it.
able to stand alone while being able to consider others.
Mm-hmm. And the reason I give that disclaimer is because, like, just like you said, someone might say, well, this is my truth. That evolves because when you change and grow, you change your friggin' mind, and you should.
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course. So
your values
you have
evolve.
to, you have to have that fluidity of like, that's true for now.
Maybe like sometimes it's the truth, right? But sometimes it's also like values.
Mm-hmm,
What are your internal values, and can you stand by them and live by them and speak by them?
Yeah.
Guided by your internal wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a different truth than just be like, this is my opinionated truth.
Absolutely, you're right. Yeah.
Because some is just opinionated truth because that's just what I currently believe. But then values, like internal values that come from your soul, the way you want to live, what you stand for, what you want, like it can also change. But that's a different truth. That's a different place your truth comes from.
And a lot of times, I think doing that values work because that's unfamiliar to people, because you can write it out and agree with yourself that this is the way you want to live. But until you've done your trauma healing, you might be acting out all these things. Take a closer look, right? To have these values, but then also to live them, there's a bridge there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do have to go through that trauma healing. You have to work through all these parts so you can actually truly hear your values. Because, yeah, like you said, some of your values that you thought were your values were just distorted by some of your conditioning.
Totally.
They weren't your true values for yourself. And it's not always about value about like, oh, kindness. It's like, no, the values of what's the truth that your soul and being wants to live and what it really wants from this life.
Mm-hmm.
You can only get to that space by sorting through the noise, through the parts. And I feel those values often come from a felt sense. And of course, then it turns into thoughts, whatever, but it comes from your body.
True.
It comes from your body in a way that you, before, if you're still full in your conditioning, you'd be like, oh, I never thought I would, like, I don't want this.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh shit, that's what I craved all my life. And now it's like, okay, and now are you going to make sure you get that and you're not going to settle for the other thing or for less than you really wanted? And that's your soul work.